A return to the solace of golf for President Trump, who is described as furious at the underwhelming rally turnout. Estimated attendance at 6,200. The arena holds 19,000, and the campaign had boasted 1 million had requested tickets.
The Wall Street Journal, NBC, heading down 11 points.
Biden is leading President Trump in several key battleground states.
He's been behind consistently.
As Biden's poll numbers surge, especially in key battleground states.
We had 2 polls today out that showed the president with a double-digit deficit.
President Trump has grown increasingly unnerved in the last week about his re-election prospects. The president berated him, I'm told, for his own sliding poll numbers and even threatened to sue Parscale. Now, he could be headed for defeat against former Vice President Joe Biden.
He's going to be your president because some people don't love me, maybe.
The president is grasping for ways that he can regain ground.
It's a beautiful plan. It can't lose. We're going to steal the election. This is the greatest scam in the history of politics. Only by changing to new solutions will we win this election. Only by changing to new solutions will we get new and great results. This is a rigged election. We're going to steal the election. I will unveil my plan on this in the coming weeks that I've been working on. It's a beautiful plan to steal an election, to defraud the American people, all of our people, of a fair and free election. Putting together a really fantastic team. An incredible team of 11 people to accomplish this mission, and rapidly. This is a rigged election. We're going to win this election.
That's right.
Yeah, he's a fantastic man. He wants to make the post office great again. You ever hear the expression? He wants to make the post office great again.
You don't know the cost to mail a postcard.
To admit that I know very little about postage.
40 years of patriotic service delivering the mail. How can one person screw this up in just a few weeks? Will you put the machines back?
I'm very proud to lead the organization. The rest of your accusations are actually...
Will you put the high-speed machines back?
No, I will not.
You will not?
Will not.
You will not. Well, there you go.
I don't believe they will find misconduct, but I don't see why I would commit here right now to resigning for any reason.
Is it ever appropriate, sir, for the president to solicit or accept foreign assistance in an election?
It depends what kind of assistance.
Is it ever appropriate for the president or presidential candidate to accept or solicit foreign assistance of any kind in his or her election?
No, it's not appropriate.
Okay, okay. Sorry you had to struggle with that one, Mr. Attorney General.
Elections that have been held with mail have found substantial fraud and coercion. For example, we indicted someone in Texas, 1,700 ballots collected from people who could vote. He made them out and voted for the person he wanted to.
He may not have known it, but he was stepping down.
He may not have known that he was stepping down. That's your testimony today?
Vote in person, that would be illegal.
I don't know what the law in the particular state says.
You can't vote twice.
Well, I don't know what the law in the particular state says and when that vote becomes final.
Any state that says you can vote twice?
Well, there's some, maybe that you...
I don't need invitations by the state mayors or state governors. We're going to do that, whether they like us there or not.
The decision the Senate announced weeks ago remains about a principle and not a person. Let the American people decide. we'd fill it. The Senate will vote on this nomination this year.
Senate Democrats did try to push through more funding for election security yesterday, but the GOP leader, Mitch McConnell, blocked that bill.
You have the head, the director of national intelligence, saying that the Russians tried to infiltrate our election system, tried to subvert American democracy, and they're going to try it again. Moscow Mitch said it's a hoax. He is aiding and abetting Vladimir Putin's ongoing attempts to subvert American democracy. And Moscow Mitch won't even let the Senate take a vote on it. That is un-American.
Giuliani jumped right into this role he's now totally famous for. A Trump surrogate whose defenses are so bumbling, so illogical, they often sound more like confessions.
In charge of Ukraine. They make $5 million.
I got a hard break.
China.
You have the transcript of the call.
Sure. I know you want to defend it so bad.
I don't want to defend anything. I'm asking questions.
You do.
Rudy. I know you don't like my answers, but I think you give me the courtesy of giving them. You have a completely warped picture of what happened, which is not atypical.
Rudy, can you hear
me? I mean, this is constantly what is being done to President Trump by the left-wing media.
All right, Rudy.
He has handled this really superbly.
Okay, Rudy.
Many fewer incidents than...
Yet again, we have breaking news tonight. Yet again, it pertains to the president's lawyer and all-around sidekick, Rudy Giuliani.
Did you ask the Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden?
No, actually, I didn't. The thing I asked about Joe Biden is to get to the bottom of how it was that Lutsenko, who was appointed, dismissed the case against Antak.
So you did ask Ukraine to look into Joe Biden?
Of course I did.
You just said you didn't. I asked you, did you ask Ukraine to look at Joe Biden? You said no. Then you went on to say that you did.
I didn't say
recorded. Tonight, the New York Times is reporting Rudy is under investigation by federal prosecutors.
Media.
There you go again. The left-wing media.
Why don't we not allowing me to explain it because I have to talk over you?
Now, you know what? You're talking over me all the time.
Well, you're darn right I am.
Stop with all this craziness.
You're the former press secretary to the Giuliani campaign. You're saying he looks like a nut.
That's what he looks like. He looks like a right-wing conspiracy nut.
Rapper Kanye West is quietly getting on the ballot in some key swing states, but tonight there are questions over who's helping him expand the map and what implications it might have on the election.
Jared Kushner met with Kanye West last week in Colorado, according to the New York Times, and it's true that Kanye West has no chance of winning, but that does not mean that Democrats shouldn't be worried about him siphoning off votes for Joe Biden.
While you were meeting with Kanye West, did you discuss the election at all in any capacity?
So Kanye's been a friend of mine for, I know, about 10 years, and, we talk every now and then about different things, and we both happen to be in Colorado, and it was just great to have a friendly discussion.
Kanye got on the ballot in Colorado just last night. He's filed in recent days in 9 states.
Where it gets interesting, Lindsay, is that we've been tracking through these filings, and we found at least a half a dozen examples of Republican operatives who are associated with the effort. One of them even is a delegate to the national convention that Trump is going to be nominated at in a couple of weeks. So it does raise questions about the motivations.
I love this guy right here. Let me get this guy. I love this guy right here.
That's really,
yeah.
Amen. Yeah.
It's a horror film, really. They'll disarm you, empty the prisons, lock you in your home, and invite MS-13 to live next door. And the police aren't coming when you call. In Democrat-run cities, they're already being defunded, disbanded. Nightmares are becoming real. Cops killed, children shot.
So we're back now with Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz seen here wearing a gas mask as the House passed a multi-billion-dollar funding bill to fight the coronavirus outbreak. The House Sergeant at Arms eventually asked him to remove the mask in the chamber. Gaetz said the House floor is a petri dish.
Members of Congress are human petri dishes. So if anyone's going to get coronavirus, it's probably going to be Congress.
I think the humor may have been a little misplaced on Matt's part.
Meanwhile, 2 residents of his own state have now died. Santa Rosa County man who died actually lives in his district. One of the deaths is actually in his district. This strikes me as somebody who, while Donald Trump is downplaying the science and downplaying the severity, he's almost mocking it.
I think that at the very least there should be a referral to the Ethics Committee of witness intimidation or tampering under USC 1512 of my colleague Matt Gaetz, and it may be possibly him being referred for a criminal prosecution. So I want to put that on the record.
You write about is a lot more important than hearing from people that know nothing about the Mueller report.
The time of the gentleman
on the Mueller report.
The time of the gentleman has expired.
Mr. Chairman, you guys think way more than you're obligated.
The Florida bar is reportedly moving forward with an investigation into Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. The congressman's tweet as a threat and an attempt at witness tampering. The Florida bar opened an investigation shortly afterwards to determine whether Gaetz's tweet was a violation of their rules, which means Gaetz could face discipline.
Take my time and impose on it and then restrict it. This is a total farce, and it's no wonder witnesses don't want to come.
Pro-Russia Ukrainian parliamentarian Andrei Derkach is spreading claims about corruption. He is spreading these claims to undermine Biden's campaign and thereby help Trump. Well, what is his medium for doing this? He's spreading these claims by providing those claims to this man, the Republican U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, who heads the Senate Homeland Security Committee.
Another important point to make. I've been accused of peddling Russian disinformation. I'm being called a conspiracy theorist. There is no Russian disinformation. Here's the exact same email provided to us by the FBI. Let me just give you one example. Here's a document we got from the General Services Administration. You mentioned documents. Here's one. Here's the exact same email we got from the FBI. Are upset at the news media.
Okay, this is not about the media. Senator Johnson, Senator Johnson, please. Can we please answer the question that I asked you?
Congressional Oversight Panel has opened an investigation into all federal contracts negotiated by the White House trade advisor Peter Navarro. And now Democrats in the House are trying to investigate why this one in particular was abruptly canceled and whether there are risks embedded in other contracts that were negotiated by Navarro.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden's got 40 years of sucking up to the Chinese, including 8 years as vice president. We all know about the $1 billion that his son took from the Chinese.
That's just not factual, sir. That is not a fact. He did not take $1 billion from the Chinese.
Went into that hedge fund. But be that as it may, I
heard what the president said, and when he was asked about the Proud Boys and to denounce them, he did not do that. He said, in fact, stand by.
Yeah, I thought it was Chris Wallace let that thing get out of hand, and then he was Joe Biden's.
You think it's Chris Wallace's fault that the president didn't denounce white supremacy? You know, blaming the ref can sometimes not be a good look for the campaign.
But he wasn't a ref. See, he was a cut man. As you got Joe Biden, who's been a long friend of China, versus President Trump, who's the only president who's ever stood up to China. The Chinese did their China virus. The Chinese warnings that the Chinese in China, the Chinese Communist Party over to China, the China pandemic, China virus, this China virus, no mention of China to China.
You keep talking about China, though, but all during the month of February, as I said, the president was continuing to praise China. And, you know, there's a lot of evidence that those lost weeks made a difference.
In March, saying, come on down.
Why wasn't the president straightforward with the American people?
He was straightforward.
No, he wasn't.
There was, look, Jake, I'm telling you.
Just answer it's a very basic question. Right, you want to talk about what you want to talk about.
you're saying a second opinion here. What are your qualifications to weigh in on medicine more than Dr. Anthony Fauci? Why should we listen to you and not Dr. Fauci?
Listen, Jay, you just
I want you to answer the
listen.
question.
My qualifications in terms of looking at the science is that I'm a social scientist.
That doesn't qualify you to treat patients. You know it doesn't qualify you to treat patients.
John. What we've been doing on vaccine development, we have a possibility of getting a vaccine by the end of the year, and I put that right in a memo on February 9th under the advice of the president in terms of getting on this situation because it might be serious. You can't have it both ways, Jake. You simply
I'm not
can't.
trying to have it both ways.
In February, nobody knew. No, nobody knew. Not the president,
He's
not
February
you.
2nd. Dr. Anthony Fauci was asked at the briefing yesterday to weigh in on the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine, and the president wouldn't let him. So shouldn't we hear from the scientists on this at the briefing?
John, that's just an unfair question to ask me, okay? It's like Bill de Blasio.
He knew it was deadlier than the flu, and he was lying to the American people 2 weeks later.
Jay, you're cherry picking.
I'm not cherry picking.
But you can say, look, I think
Look, here it
all
is.
of this is asked and answered, Jake. Look, here's the thing.
He was
It's
not
like,
honest with the
you
American
guys-
people. You're not
wrong.
answering the question.
You're not honest with the American people.
Taking is as a social scientist with no medical training, is you are now saying that you think it works, while Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is an infectious disease doctor who has been running the top infectious disease agency for decades, says we don't know if it works.
I mean,
I said you're not answering the question. Here's the thing. Thank you, Peter Navarro. We just played tape. You didn't answer the question.
No, you can't say that. It's hard to be that. You can't fix stupid, Joe. You just can't. Right? I came here to do trade policy, right? What am I now, a conscript in the war on the China virus? I'm like a quartermaster and a shipping clerk half the time.
Peter, that is just a waste of time to say that. I'm going to leave it there, Peter Navarro.
No, hang on.
We're just trying to get our hands around
Why-
Peter Navarro,
why is
that's
that a
it.
waste
We're
of
out of
time to say that?
We're out of time, and that's just,
Okay,
that's
good.
ridiculous.
It was one of the most extraordinary moments between an American president and a Russian leader. Their meeting framed by Friday's Justice Department indictment of 12 Russian agents for election meddling. President Trump asked, who do you believe, President Putin or the U.S. intelligence community? His answer?
People came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
You look at what happened with a Russian leader today who's been involved in assassinations of opponents, who doesn't like a free press, who doesn't like democratic opposition, and you contrast that with the president who says, I don't like the G7 on trade policy and I don't trust the EU. What's the message to you in that pattern? I trust people who think like I do.
Russia at all accountable for anything in particular?
Yes, I do. I hold both countries responsible.
How does Vladimir Putin respond to basically being empowered and enabled by the President of the United States?
Chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee unloading on Trump.
The president's comments made us look as a nation more like a pushover.
Homeland Security came out with statements this week about continued Russian interference. This was not on Obama's watch, that's this week.
Great to be with you. I said, is there some kind of a test, an acuity test? And he said there actually is, and he named it, whatever it might be. And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's person, woman, man, camera, TV. Then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they'd say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV. He gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy. And that's not an easy question. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
The president has ramped up his attacks on the integrity of the election. And now he's publicly stating that he will not commit to a peaceful transfer of power.
As mail-in voting, the president again attacking that idea and suggesting his supporters in some cases vote twice.
Sign your mail-in ballot, okay? You sign it and send it in. On election day or early voting, you go vote.
There is no evidence of widespread voter fraud due to mail-in balloting. Election officials are urging people not to try to vote twice.
The ballots are out of control. You know it. And you know who knows it better than anybody else? The Democrats know it better than anybody else.
This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. These mail-in ballots are a disgrace, and they know it.
Will you commit to making sure that there is a peaceful transferal of power after the election?
Well, we're going to have to see what happens. You know that I've been complaining very strongly about the ballots, and the ballots are a disaster.
As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. They found them in creeks.
The president says they found a lot of ballots in a river. I simply want to know where the river is.
No,
I'm asking you where the river is, and you can't give an
answer. Sent out in that were given in lack of journalistic curiosity.
I'm very curious. Where's the river?
Yes.
That's curiosity.
People are rioting. Do you commit to making sure that there's a peaceful transferal of power?
We want to get rid of the ballots, and you'll have a very peaceful. There won't be a transfer, frankly. There'll be a continuation. It's a scam. The scam will be before the United States Supreme Court, and I think this will end up in the Supreme Court, and I think it's very important that we have 9 justices. I'll be submitting at 5 o'clock on Saturday the name of the person I chose for this most important of all positions. She is a woman of unparalleled achievement, towering intellect, sterling credentials, and unyielding loyalty. Judge Amy Coney Barrett. The scam will be before the United States Supreme Court, and I think having a 4-4 situation is not a good situation. If you get that, I don't know that you'd get that. I think it should be 8-0 or 9-0.
The president has indicated he wants his nominee confirmed before the November election. Republican leaders plan to push forward with the timetable despite Democrats' objections.
The nomination kicks off a furious and unprecedented scramble to confirm her in the Senate with just 38 days to go before the election.
And Hunter.
He had some big difficulties, and then all of a sudden he's making millions of dollars. As soon as his father becomes vice president, there's only one reason he made all that money. And then you have to say, what about Joe's involvement?
Hunter.
I mean, there's some bad questions. I don't think they have answers. Why did he get $3.5 million? I'll tell you why. Because Joe Biden was in on it. Joe was in on it. There's no way that he wasn't.
Hunter.
This would be the biggest story for years and years and years. Then you'd really be entitled to real Pulitzer Prizes, not the fake committee that gives you these fake awards. It's hard to believe when you see the kind of money that he has made from China.
And then they fly to China. And I'm dealing with people right now, they're tough as hell, those Chinese. And Hunter. He goes in, he has a meeting, he walks out in his fund with $1.5 billion with a B.
He never mentioned it to his father that he just got $1.5 billion.
$1.5 billion!
And now it's turning out that it's much more money than that, Rudy. It's turned out to be much more money from China. They have a member of the Chinese Communist Party gave him a lot of money.
The Democrat Party has been completely taken over by socialists. He's following the radical left
agenda. Marxists and far-left extremists.
Who do you think is pulling Biden's strings? Is it former Obama
people
officials?
that you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows, people that...
What does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory, dark shadows.
No,
What is
people that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. They're people that are controlling the streets.
We will ensure that America never becomes a socialist or communist country. Joe Biden's policies put China first and America last. Defund our police. A disruption in the markets, the likes of which our country has never seen. Incite riots and leave every city at the mercy of the radical left. So they want to defund and abolish your police and law enforcement. Take away your guns, destroy your Second Amendment. He's against guns. They embrace the policies of communist Cuba. They want to wipe away every trace of religion from national life. They want to indoctrinate our children. No religion, no anything. Hurt the Bible, hurt God. He's against God. Socialist Venezuela. They want to end the American dream. You will have a crash in the markets because he's going to double and triple your taxes. He's going to do things that nobody ever would ever think even possible. Vandals and these hoodlums and these anarchists and agitators. He's against energy, our kind of energy.
The
Radical
question-
left.
Will you shut up, man? Listen, we had somebody get on a plane from a certain city this weekend, and in the plane it was almost completely loaded with thugs wearing these dark uniforms, black uniforms with gear and this and that. They're on a plane.
Really believe that Joe Biden will be on any type of performance-enhancing drug ahead of the debates, or are you just joking?
No, I'm not joking. I mean, I'm willing to take a drug test. I think he should too. They'll give him a big shot of something and he'll go out there. He'll have a lot of energy. He'll have energy. He'll be like Superman for about 15 minutes. Then how did he go from there, those horrible performances, to where he was okay? People say he was on performance-enhancing drugs. They gave him a big fat shot in the ass and he comes out, and for 2 hours he's better than ever before. You know? The problem is what happens after that. Nah, we're going to ask for a drug test. We are. I'd like to have a drug test. You can check out the internet. You'll see plenty of people say it.
1951 called again in the form of Trump's tweet this morning. The suburban housewife will be voting for me. They want safety and are thrilled that I ended the long-running program where, wait for it, low-income housing would invade their neighborhood. Biden would reinstall it in a bigger form with misspelled Cory Booker in charge.
Joe Biden and his bosses from the radical left want to totally destroy the beautiful suburbs. Suburbia will be no longer as we know it. If he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, our suburbs would be gone. By the way, I just ended the rule on suburbs. You know, the suburbs will abolish our beautiful and successful suburbs. Abolish the suburbs, while at the same time destroying our great suburbs. And they're going to, in my opinion, destroy suburbia. 30% plus are minorities living in suburbia. It's been hell for suburbia. The suburb destruction will end with us. Our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've never seen.
He wouldn't know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburb. I think it's going to be a terrible time for this country. Deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem. Here we are, and we're going to be here for another 4 years. And we're probably entitled to another 4 after that. One of the great catastrophes and one of the great embarrassments in the history of our country.
Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. You're the worst president America has ever had. Come on. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote.